Hello, everyone out there in Twitter land, YouTube land, and wherever else land you are coming at us from. First of all, I want to say I hope none of you are near any large cities in the United States because they're burning right now. That's fun,
Yeah.
which we will discuss at a later time because we had a previously scheduled engagement here with Mr. Blake, who is coming back to the show to discuss to just kind of take a well-earned victory lap about the Snyder cut here on Fighting the Void. And first of all, I want to get through a couple of things. One, we might have a little background noise, and there are connection issues a little crazy, so bear with us. We'll get through this together, everybody. We're all okay. No, that's all I'm going to do there. And
all in this together.
Oh my gosh! And I noticed as I was logging in and everything that we hit the 100 subscriber mark for the channel. So thanks everybody for that. I really appreciate it. And you might have seen Red and Crystal talking about stuff with what's going on with Blunt Talk, and we're going to have some other announcements in the near future about development and everything for the channel, and we're going to be growing and expanding things, actually taking concrete steps to do that. It's in the works. I'm really looking forward to everything that we're working on here. So with all of that said, Eric, welcome back to the show.
Oh, it's great to be back, man. This has been really great,
isn't it?
The past couple of weeks have been so incomparably good. Just a great feeling for me and a great feeling for a lot of us.
Okay, now before we get into why you're so dang happy, remind people, what is the Snyder Cut? What have you guys? Why is this a thing at all? And why are you so damn excited about it?
Well, let me begin at the risk of being a little indulgent here. Let me begin.
Be indulgent, sir. Like I said, this is your victory lap.
Okay, I will. So let me invoke a little something from BioShock. I am Eric M. Blake, and I'm here to ask you a question. When an artist is commissioned to create a piece in a manner agreed upon, is the artist not entitled to see their work through? No, says the executive meddler. It belongs to the changes we imposed after the agreement. No, says the blogosphere. It belongs to our whims of the moment. I rejected those answers. Instead, I and others like me chose something different. We chose the impossible. We chose the Snyder Cut. And along with it, the Snyderverse. We fought for a future where the artist will not fear the censor, where artistic integrity will be the ideal, where the great shall not be constrained by the small, and by the sweat of your brow, this glorious future will become your future as well. I couldn't resist.
You don't turn Hollywood into a bunch of mutants that are randomly destroying each other.
Well, who knows? I'll just say.
Everybody, let's not pull that analogy too far.
No, we won't. Just join us, will you kindly? Yeah. Well, I'll just say this: like what the Snyder Cut is. Well, rewind the clocks back a little bit. Back when DC, when Warner Brothers looked at the beginnings of the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when and it was starting up at around the same time that Christopher Nolan was finishing up his Batman, his Dark Knight trilogy. And around that same time, Warner Brothers went to him and says, hey, Christopher Nolan, would you like to stay with the superhero thing for us and do some Superman? And maybe we can let that expand into an expanded universe. We could work the Dark Knight trilogy into it, or we could not, just depending how it works. And Christopher Nolan is like, well, look, the only I did Batman because I'm I'm an expertise in noir and crime thrillers, and that's my thing, and that's what Batman felt was that's what Batman essentially is. But I feel like wouldn't be the best person to do Superman, because Superman is more high fantasy, and high fantasy is not my thing. But I can tell you who would be perfect, and he brought in Zack Snyder, and they did Man of Steel, the first one. So we did Man of Steel, and Zack Snyder again was he came in thinking that, okay, I'm going to do a Superman trilogy. So he and David Goyer were planning on a Man of Steel 2. And it was going to have Metallo as the main villain and so on. But the thing is, even with Man of Steel, he filled Man of Steel with quick little references to a bigger universe in case they ever want to do it. I mean, someone actually interviewed Zack Snyder during the publicity tour for Man of Steel. Could you see this going into like a shared universe, like a Justice League or something? And he's like, yeah, but if I wanted to do that, I would first want to get Superman's house in order first. But even then, I mean, I filled Man of Steel with a whole bunch of little references in case we ever wanted to go that route, but it's not high on my agenda. But what happened was, in the script for Man of Steel 2, he put in some references to Bruce Wayne, because his Man of Steel 2 was essentially, imagine Batman v Superman without anything Batman and without Wonder Woman. It's basically he's fighting against Lex Luthor's like attempt to smear his name and crush his name, and in the meantime, that guy who's crippled in Batman v Superman, like he had like a full arc where instead of blowing up and destroying Capitol Hill, he was supposed, like, Luthor was going to give him the Metallo suit. He was supposed to be John Corbin. So that was the whole thing. Yeah. And it may or may not have culminated in Superman fighting Doomsday and then dying at the end. And then in the third movie, he was to come back and be a big epic happy ending. But what happened was, in the script for Man of Steel 2, he had references to Bruce Wayne getting like he would, like, at the end, he would get some of the kryptonite. So he and David Goyer brought the idea to Warner Brothers. And here's the thing: Warner Brothers for a long time had the idea of a Batman versus Superman kind of high concept kind of movie, and they had nothing to, and they couldn't really do it. They didn't really have like the right thing to do it. But then they looked at it as like, oh, you know what? Why not tweak it a little bit so that instead of fighting Metallo, he fights Batman? You could do a Batman versus Superman movie. You just make it big. Do that. And he's like, okay. And by this time, not what I had in mind, but I might as well. Now, by this time, David Goyer had went off to do, of all things, he was writing a Green Lantern Corps movie, which has been put on the shelf, obviously. But there's been talk that it might be coming back. Well, who knows? But when David Goyer was going in, he needed a new writer. But in the meantime, he was getting some cast or who would I want to be Batman? Well, we already did a younger Batman. Let's do an older Batman like Dark Knight Rises. So he brought in Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck is like, okay, so I'm kind of old for the role. It's like, well, yeah, you're going to be an older Batman. So what happened was, so Ben Affleck was thinking about this. I say, so you need a writer? Says, I have a writer, and he brought in Chris Terrio, because Chris Terrio had written Argo for Ben Affleck.
Oh, okay.
And in the meantime, Zack Snyder also connected up with Jim Lee, the great like comic artist and writer. Yeah. And he and Jim Lee crafted together, with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman in mind, they crafted together a 5-part arc. And that was going to be Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman. It was going to be Justice League 1, Justice League 2, and presumably Justice League 3, whatever. You may remember when I was on, I was speculating there was probably Flashpoint with as a kind of Days of Future Past, mainly because Batman v Superman, he cast he cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne, and would he not be a perfect Flashpoint Batman?
Oh, obviously, yes. He would be like
Yeah,
a great, or he would be a great, like, darker, scruffier, rougher Batman. Obviously, yes. That's like
absolutely.
obvious casting to me. That's like Patrick Stewart as
Yeah,
Professor
absolutely.
X level casting.
Oh yes, yeah. So what happened was, he created a Batman v Superman, and he made like he made the movie, he made 3 hour movie, and the director's cut. He showed the director's cut to Warner Brothers, and it got standing ovation. But the new CEO Kevin Sujihara was a bit of a bean counter, and he got it into his head that the movie would have to be shorter because we want to maximize the screenings. So he told Zach to cut the movie down to 2.5 hours, to 2 hours and 40 minutes or whatever. So he did, and we all know what happened. The theatrical cut was not received very well, but his director's cut, the BVS Ultimate Edition, got released on Blu-ray, and it is one of the best-selling Blu-rays of all time. And a lot of the critics who dumped on BVS theatrical cut, they apologized to Zach and they loved the Ultimate Edition. But by that time, the damage had already been done, and that's where we go to Suicide Squad and Justice League. Now, around the same time when the critics were giving like the bad reception to BVS, they told David Ayer to reshoot Suicide Squad to make it more lighthearted and less serious.
Right.
So and to cut it down and all that. And as a result, if you've seen Suicide Squad, even the extended cut, it's a bit of a rushed mess, kind of like a lot of it's fast forwarded it. And a lot of like the serious stuff, like it's harder to take it seriously because a lot of the serious stuff was like replaced with more like, quote unquote fun stuff. Yeah. So, and that's why you'll often see release the Ayer cut, especially after they release the Snyder cut. But anyway, the release of Snyder cut was, Zack Snyder was already getting a lot of like pressure from the executives, from Kevin Sujihara and Toby Emmerich and the rest, to like, hey, don't make this too dark, don't make this too edgy, and Zack's like, this was supposed to be my Return of the Jedi. Of course, it's not as dark or edgy, but it's like, just make sure it's more fun, make sure it's not as dark. So he's going through this pressure, trying to still make it's the best movie he can make. And his daughter committed suicide. And that was very sad. And so at this point, he's like, I'm so stressed out right now, I can't do this. Now, he had already gotten done the main production, and he was deep in post-production. Now, he had a few scenes in mind left to shoot for the simple reason that some of the actors were not available at the time. Like the actor who played General Swanwick, Harry Lennox, the guy who played General Swanwick in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, was unavailable during the main shoot, and Lawrence Fishburne, who played Perry White, was unavailable during the main shoot. So like he had there's to be some scenes with General Swanwick, which, spoiler alert, he was going to reveal that General Swanwick was John Jones, Martian Manhunter, all along.
Right.
Yeah. And he was going to have a scene with Perry White. Now, presumably, there have been reports that scene was supposed to be Clark Kent and Lois Lane, at the very end of the movie, going to Perry and saying, "Oh, hey, I'm alive, I'm back, and by the way, like I was a Superman all along." And Perry's like, "Yeah, I kind of knew that, kid." So and then he gives Clark the perfect cover story for why he's back to life, even though they reported that Clark Kent was dead and Superman was dead. So what was the cover story? What was Clark Kent doing? Why was he faking his death? Well, there's a story there. There've been some rumors as to what other scenes he had planned, but long story short, he was deep in post-production. He was about to get all finished up, but like his daughter died, and so he's like, okay, I'm going to step aside. Besides, I have the movie basically like 95% done. What could they do? And what they did in the last few months was they brought in Joss Whedon, told him to cut the movie down to 2 hours even, and reshoot what you need to reshoot to make it flow as a 2 hour movie. But we're not going to move the release date. You got a few months. Good luck. Go. And as a result, we got what's come to be called Justice League, which is itself a bit of a mess, sadly.
Yes, it's one of the, I would say that whole situation with Zach, the studio, and Joss Whedon is one of the greatest acts of the miscarriages of cinematic justice that's ever happened. It's like,
Absolutely.
why would you do this? Stop getting the stop with the whole we need to be like Marvel thing. Stop. I know that there's a lot of critics out there and some fans that keep telling you to be more like Marvel. I get it. Stop. It's not your strength. It's not. That's not even the nature of DC's heroes. It's not the nature of DC's comics. When they've tried to go that lighthearted route, it almost always winds up falling on its face. Sales go down. Nobody's interested. Nobody gives a rip when Booster Gold and Blue Beetle are fronting the Justice League. No one cares. They're side characters for a reason.
Exactly. And so ultimately, and that led to almost immediately, like there's this fellow, he's known on YouTube as Movies That Mar with the Viking. He was the one who invented, if you will, the hashtag release a Snyder cut, and it was a couple of days after Justice League came out. So there was him. There were several others like Fiona Zhang, and several other like folks that kickstarted this whole movement. There was Chris Wong Swenson also on YouTube. There was Dave the Film Junkie Pena also on YouTube. There were the movie marks and so on. and this movement like exploded like wildfire. And around mid 2018, that's when I first like really got connected into the movement. Like and of course by the time and I was getting involved Chris Wong Swenson in particular, he and I hit it off very well. I'm now a mod for like his YouTube channel. Actually, that's pretty cool. So there's that, and ultimately, and it culminated in. Two big things happened that helped created my name, if you will, in the movement. The first was when Zach first announced this shirt and laid out the design for it, and we all pretty much figured out that this was basically a symbolic depiction of
the story.
His and Jim Lee's plans, the story for their 5-part arc. Now, I have long suspected that this section with the baby like being right underneath like the Batman symbol and the coffin with the W on it, I have long suspected like that would have something to do with something that Zach had already said on Vero the year before, 2018. Someone asked him on Vero, okay, at BVS, when Clark dies, we see 3 crosses in the background. What was that all about? And he said, well, that was to build up something that was foreshadowing for Justice League 2, hashtag until it wasn't. So what was that all about? And then people pointed out, wait a minute. Okay, so you have the 3 crosses. Obviously, the middle one is like the Christ figure who traditionally is Clark, is Superman.
Right.
So the two, there's the good thief and the bad thief. And 2 guys who have a parallel with each other, but one of which reconciles with, in this case, Superman, and the other which just stays his enemy. So in Batman v Superman, we had a good thief and a bad thief. We had Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So with the crosses, that implies that the implication is if we take that to its end natural conclusion is that both of them are destined to die in Justice League 2. So when has Batman famously heroically died? And we pointed and we looked at Final Crisis. And someone asked Zack Snyder on Vero, they posted the picture in Final Crisis of Bruce dead and Clark is carrying him, and says, Zach, were you leading up to this? And Zach said yes. So I was piecing that together, and with that symbol of the baby underneath the coffin with the W and the bat symbol, I was piecing, okay, so what do we know? We know that Clark is like mad. The reason that in the nightmare visions Clark is angry, like she was my world and you took her from me, and then Flash from the future tells Bruce, Lois is the key.
Yeah, right.
What does that mean? Well, for me, and I pieced that together, is like, it seems like Bruce's heroic sacrifice has to have something to do with making sure Lois doesn't die, saving Lois's life. So, and then with that shirt coming out, that really confirmed it for me. And that was at that point where I where I posted on Vero, like, oh, I get it. This is what it could mean. It means that in Justice League 1, after Clark comes back to life, and he and Lois meet, they see each other again. They reunite, and then they fly to the Kent farmhouse. That would be the perfect time for new beginnings, such as Lois getting pregnant, if you will.
Right.
And that would lead to either Clark and Lois marry at the end of the Snyder Cut, or they marry at the very beginning of Justice League 2. And so, in order to make sure that Lois doesn't die, this will lead to the Final Crisis thing. When Darkseid comes to invade, the way to prevent that is just from Final Crisis, where Batman and Darkseid gun each other down. They take each other down, and Lois is saved, Clark's soul is saved, the world is saved. Clark and Lois gives birth to her and Clark's baby son, and they name, and because like it's underneath the symbol of Batman, because his legacy is being passed on to the baby, they name him Bruce Kent. And when I posted that as like a reply just to Fiona actually was the one that made the post, but I posted the reply laying out that deduction, and Zack Snyder responded with applause. So thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Zack. So there was that. That was the first thing that made my name. The second one was Project Comic-Con. And I like brought together like a whole bunch of folks with like experience with the movement and some other folks who were interested in being involved. It's like, okay, what we need to do is last year at Comic-Con, we were expecting that maybe Warner Brothers might release the Snyder Cut, but they didn't. So what we got to do is, no matter what happens for the 2019 Comic-Con, we have to make sure that release the Snyder Cut, it sticks in people's minds in some way. We need to do something big. So that was Project Comic-Con, and we put all that together. We all put our heads together, and our ideas culminated in a plane flying that hashtag, like Warner Brothers hashtag release the Snyder Cut of Justice League, flying around the convention center for 2 hours straight. We got a billboard in like the highway leading into San Diego for release of Snyder Cut. We had an advertisement in the Hollywood Reporter that was released that week. And we got like the total ad space for a bus stop in downtown San Diego, across the street from the San Diego Hall of Justice. How's that for appropriate? So we got those, and some of us like who were able to go to the convention, like they were spreading the word, like they were like handing out flyers and all that good stuff. But that was the thing. And then as time went on, bit by bit, we said, okay, it looks like some things look promising. Like J.J. Abrams joined the Warner Brothers family. And he said, okay, if you guys want me on, get rid of Tsujihara. And they did. So, and JJ and his wife, apparently they were the ones that brought in Ann Sarnoff to be the new CEO. And Ann Sarnoff stripped Toby Emmerich, the other big meddler, of his authority and power. So like and around the same time, Ann Sarnoff and her crew crafted together the plans for HBO Max. And all of these opportunities were coming all the doors were being opened. And so last November, someone high up in the movement says, "Hey guys, we've been getting word from somebody that's been telling us, let's release the Snyder Cut trend on Twitter." And we did. It was a really big trend on November 17th, which was the 2-year anniversary of the release of Justice League. Yep. And we did. And shortly after that, there were reports that Zack was in talks with Warner Brothers and AT&T to get this thing going.
Right.
And we weren't sure how it was going to happen, but then finally, a few months ago, it's like something's happening. Something might happen soon, and HBO Max is about to open up. What's going to happen? And then finally, a couple weeks ago, Zack Snyder did his live chat director's commentary of Man of Steel, and at the very end, he Henry Cavill, who plays Superman, like Clark, like they show he popped up on screen, and they were answering some fans' questions. Someone asked him, "Hey, do you think there's a chance we'll get the Snyder Cut soon?" And then Zack and Henry Cavill looked at each other, was like, I don't know. I mean, it's not really up to me. And then Henry's like, Zach, I think we should show it. And then he did, and he showed the poster that it is getting released next year on HBO Max.
Yes.
Victory. Victory is happening. We won. We did it.
Yep. And it's huge. And it's so great to see all of that work and effort finally achieve its end. I mean, I commented you before when you were on, I've never seen a fan movement like this go so long and be so dedicated for so long. The chances that it would actually not happen seem to be so ridiculously small. I mean, I know there were clearly forces in on the internet, forces within Warner Brothers that were trying to stonewall it, were trying to delay it, but I was like, there's no way that eventually the powers that be are going to look at this and be like, okay, guys, there are people literally begging to give us their money for this product.
Yes.
There's no way that it's not going to work.
Yes. And apparently, like, on the one hand, of course, as I said, we can thank J.J. Abrams and Ann Sarnoff for, like, getting rid of, like, the meddlers, getting, like, the big meddlers out of Warner Brothers. But we can also thank AT&T, Ma Bell, because apparently they were really behind, hey, this could make us money. I mean, whatever it did, like, what you went through Warner Brothers, I mean, it still could make us money. And then the new boss of Warner Media, who was the former, like, founder and boss of Hulu, Jason Kilar, he came in, and when people were and people from our side were cheering him and were being nice to him, says, hey, Jason Kilar, it's nice to have you on, do you think you could release a Snyder Cut? And he was liking those tweets. So it's like, so all the pieces were coming together. I mean, to quote Kronk from Emperor's New Groove, oh yeah, it's all coming together. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I love
it. Or as Jake said over in the chat, just quite simply, Deus Vult. Clearly, God willed this to happen. God wanted the Snyder Cut released as well, and eventually all the pieces, in fact, came together. And you know what? If J.J. Abrams never does a single other thing that I like cinematically, which, let's put it this way, I don't have the highest opinion of him as a filmmaker, but by golly, if he helped make this happen, God bless him.
Yes,
God bless him indeed.
And I'll say this, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you, like, when it happened, when it was finally announced that day, I posted, like, there were two big tweets that I posted, like, I posted them on Twitter, and I posted them on Vero. First, I said, praise the Lord, all you people, shout unto God with the voice of triumph. And then I did Deus Vult, of course. And then I quoted Ronald Reagan, like we were not just making time, we made a difference. All in all, not bad at all.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, and in the meantime, someone had actually brought this up before the announcement actually happened. They said it would be very wise for AT&T and Ann Sarnoff and Jason Kilar to release the Snyder Cut through HBO Max, and maybe it could mean like a short, like theatrical release, like when Netflix released The Irishman. Right. Give it a short theatrical release before it was open. But regardless, opening it, shooting it, releasing it through HBO Max, that would basically give HBO Max the counterpart to The Mandalorian that it needed.
Right.
Because when Disney Plus came out, like, the big reason that a lot of people wanted to get it is like, well, we got a whole lot of Disney movies. Why would we want to do like a streaming service? Oh, this new Star Wars stuff, The Mandalorian, and it looked really awesome. So people came in, and there you go. And of course, the at long last, the final season of Clone Wars, that was another one. And talking about how like Ewan McGregor coming in to do an Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Well, those three things, like said, like people said, that's it. I want Disney Plus.
Now, all of the extra like Disney and Marvel, all the other Star Wars and Marvel series are the real reason people are interested in Disney Plus.
Yeah. And then CBS All Access tried to do the same with Star Trek Discovery, but we all know how that turned out. Yeah. But but HBO Max needed something because okay, so people already have HBO, or because like the idea is that if you have HBO or an HBO Go, you can quickly like upgrade it to HBO Max, no problem. But the question is like, why would you feel the need to?
Right.
Well, there needs to be some new stuff that's released through that. So HBO Max needed its Mandalorian. People were saying, guys, your perfect Mandalorian would be the Snyder Cut. And if you wanted the on-screen movies to be like different, go in a different direction, you could have the Snyderverse on HBO Max, and there you go, into the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
And so they did the Snyder Cut.
Yep.
Yeah, they did the Snyder Cut. There's now rumblings that David Ayer may get his Ayer cut, because apparently David Ayer actually said, guys, my Ayer cut is essentially almost 100% done. It just needs to be edited together perfectly. And then we may need a little bit of tweaking because like originally those like zombie creatures and all that were supposed to be parademons. It was supposed to be some setup to Justice League, but then they said, no, don't do that. So we made them the bubbleheads.
Wait a minute.
They were supposed to be
on. What?
Yeah.
They included setup for Justice League, and they said no.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because I wanted.
You're building a shared
because
universe.
Sujihara and Emmerich are idiots. Yep. So apparently, he was also supposed to have Steppenwolf do a quick little show up, just like he has a quick little show up at the end of a Batman v Superman that Luthor was talking to him, and then he had to close up the communications.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, at the very end, like before the final battle, like the idea was that Enchantress was supposed to briefly talk to Steppenwolf, and he was briefly show up, and then then communications would cut off when the squad shows up. But there was that, like the creatures were supposed to be parademons, and that's why there are parademons at the very beginning of Justice League that Bruce is fighting, whatever version of the scene it is supposed to be. But as opposed
to the I captured a parademon and then it self-destructed, and behold, there's 3 boxes connected. And, oh my gosh! Now it's time for me to get everybody together because of the 3 boxes.
Most of them should just shown up. They were supposed to be in Suicide Squad, and Batman was supposed to wonder what these creatures. I saw them in my nightmare vision, and now here they are. What could that mean? And then and supposedly there was a scene that Zack had written for Justice League 1, but the studio called it too dark. Where instead of Batman, encountering the parademon like flying around like in a Gotham. He was looking around for the evidence as to what was going on in Suicide Squad, and he was supposed to find a nest, and he was to find little pods where these people, just like with Suicide Squad, they were captured, they were dead, and they became parademons. That was the whole idea. But the studio said, no, that's too dark, that's too scary, take it out. So it's like, oh, jeez.
You're literally talking about a destroyer of worlds coming and invading Earth. Yeah, it's going to be dark. Yeah. Sorry.
So apparently that's one of that's probably going to be another one of the scenes that Zack has left to shoot. But he's got those scenes left to shoot. He's got like the Cal Swanwick Transandwick was John Jones all along scene. He has the Perry White scene, and he probably has, assuming he hadn't secretly shot it already, he has the Batman discovers the parademon pods and nest scene. And there are rumors that he is going to have the Clark Lois wedding at the end of Justice League 1 anyway. After all, like regardless, maybe because they're not really sure whether or not they're going to give him the go ahead to do Justice League 2 or not. It's going to depend on how well. Yeah, it's going to depend on how well Justice League does, but we all pretty much know it's going to do very well. I mean, when it was announced, everybody who could see HBO Max signed up for and had the money signed up for it. Says, yes, we're going to do it because you announced the Snyder Cut. We're going to do it on HBO Max.
When it comes out, I will be signing up because it's the only reason I'm making it.
Yeah. So like, and of course, there's a long talk that will release the air cut of Suicide Squad on it too, which probably is going to give him time to like tweak the special effects so that instead of the bubble heads, it's the parademons again.
Right.
Back to parademons.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be good. And supposedly, again, there's also been rumblings that of the scenes that Zack has left to shoot at the end of Justice League, he will have Martian Manhunter, General Swamik, aka John Jones, show up with a Green Lantern at the final battle to join the crew in the Justice League in the final battle and help them out. Says, hey guys, you need our help? Well, here, and they help him out. I mean, it may happen. We'll see. But
that'd be awesome.
We know that. Yeah, it would be, and it would reassure a lot of people who are complaining. Wait a minute, why are you doing the Justice League without Martian Manhunter and without Green Lantern? It's like, well, we kind of are. Yeah, so we have that, and but as for HBO Max, we talk about J.J. Abrams, even if he does nothing at all, he is going to oversee a Justice League Dark series on HBO Max. Now, it may or may not have Swamp Thing come back and bring Swamp Thing back onto HBO Max and use it as a lead into Justice League Dark. Hopefully,
I would be totally okay with that because I enjoyed that series on DC Universe.
Yeah, and it helps that Swamp Thing, that the series is run by James Wan, who is the director of
Aquaman, right?
So right then and there, it's perfectly suited to be brought into the DCU, into the Snyderverse. Like if it leads into Justice League Dark, and J.J. Abrams is doing Justice League Dark while Zack Snyder is doing the Justice League series, and we could have some cameos of a Swamp Thing and Constantine and Zatanna and Dr. Fate and all the rest in his movies. Who knows?
Yeah, I would love to see that. For one of the questions about HBO Max is it going to absorb DC Universe? Yes, obviously it is.
Apparently it is.
That's like a foregone conclusion. Of course it will, and I'm totally fine with that. One, because most of the DC Universe shows suck, and I was not impressed with Titans. Doom Patrol is kind of fun and it's in a completely weird, quirky way, but it's got a very niche appeal. So Swamp Thing was better than it got credit for.
Yes,
I know a lot of people like the Harley Quinn series. I haven't seen it at all. I had dropped my subscription before that came out. But that's about it. At the very least, half of their shows were either meh or this is going to appeal to a very small percentage of people. And the production on both those shows, Titans and Doom Patrol, was, shall we say, fan film level quality.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, look at just compare Cyborg's suit in Doom Patrol and compare that to Cyborg's suit in the movies. Which one is better?
It's not really a hard decision there. Clearly, the only with the things I thought Doom Patrol had going for it was clearly imagination, and I thought some of the acting in it was actually pretty good. But other than that, I was like, okay, I'm kind of enjoying it, but I can see why most people wouldn't. But in any case, obviously it's going to get absorbed, and I wouldn't be sad if a couple of those shows just disappear. But Swamp Thing, I would love to see that come back to some degree. I thought that was actually pretty good. Harley Quinn and
Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network has a section on HBO Max.
Good.
Crunchyroll has a section on HBO Max if you ever want to check out some animes.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Crunchyroll of all places.
Yeah. I mean, Cartoon Network.
Yeah, Crunchyroll.
Obviously, that's where you're going to find that's a place where you might find all of the, the old Bruce Timmverse stuff, which is, still some of the best animated storytelling possibly find anywhere in any universe. So there's definitely some good things that are showing up or gonna show up there. But now going forward, they've got a few things. They've got a Green Lantern series that's supposed to be on HBO Max, I believe. Now,
yeah. And as to whether or not it's going to be in the DCU, well, that's ambiguous. We'll find out. But there's talk that it's going to lead into the Green Lantern Corps movie. And for a time, it seemed like Jeff Johns, after he was removed from power, as like kind of like pressuring Zach and David Ayer and all the rest to do things fun and all that. Like they removed him and says, no, now you're just going to be a writer, like a comic writer, as you are supposed to be. Because Jeff Johns is a good writer. He is a good comic writer. He is not a good leader of comics or movies.
Well,
like when he was helping lead. And yeah. And of course, with movies, well, he oversaw the old Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, which, you know, good acting, not the best movie.
No.
And so on. But like he was going to write Green Lantern. Yeah. So they basically took it out of David Goyer's hands and gave it to Jeff Johns for a while, but then that kind of faded away. So what's he going to do? Well, apparently Jeff Johns is now going to like oversee the stories for the series, but it's still going to lead into the movie. But the movie, from what I've heard, is going to have David Goyer's original concept that it was going to be an older veteran Hal Jordan mentoring a younger John Stewart. When you previously had me on, I brought up, you know who would be the ideal Hal Jordan, especially if he's an older veteran Hal Jordan who was a fighter pilot and who's a bit of a maverick himself. Who would be perfect for an older veteran Hal Jordan but Tom Cruise? And especially if you see the trailers for,
I can see that. Yeah, for Maverick. Yeah.
And if you see for Top Gun Maverick, and he's an older veteran, like fighter pilot who's training these younger fighter pilots. Yeah. It's almost like it's an on-Earth version of Hal Jordan training the younger Hal Jordan, the younger Green Lanterns. And so who knows? I mean, it could depend. I mean, apparently, Chris McQuarrie he and Tom Cruise are filming the next two Mission Impossibles back to back. So and it's almost that almost comes across. Yeah, that almost comes across to me anyway. Like he's filming, like they're going to film the big 2-part finale, because that would be like the best reason that I can think of for why would you be filming these two films back to back. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to film a big finale for the Mission Impossible franchise, where will they be going next? Maybe Green Lantern? Who knows?
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. I mean, there's been some rumblings that they may actually bring Ryan Reynolds back, because Ryan Reynolds because the MCU is like kind of much said, yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to do anything with Deadpool after all.
Yeah,
and
like, that's kind of a missed opportunity, if I may say.
Yeah, that was a bummer. I mean, Deadpool 3, Deadpool kills the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you had the comic, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Why not?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I would love to see that, because I thought Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe was actually incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, it's a better version of it.
Universe, but he's going to be like mind controlled or something, so he's not going to act like Deadpool at all.
But in this case, have him kill the MCU because of all the complaints people have had of the MCU lately. Like, this is for no longer having Tony Stark. This is for having Tony Stark in Spider-Man. Just like that.
Yeah. I like that would actually be fun. That would just be a fun thing for them to release on Hulu or something.
Yeah, I mean, I actually said that to Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool. It's like, that would be cool if they did that for Deadpool 3, and he said, yeah, it would, wouldn't it? And he loved the idea, but then Marvel said, no, we're not going to do a Deadpool 3. If we are, it's not going to be for a while. It's like, oh geez, now what are we going to do? And Ryan Reynolds last year was at this convention, and he was talking about this that Michael Bay action movie that he was in, and he was laying out like a quick little rundown of what the movie is, and says, "In short, everybody, it's the Snyder Cut." And then the whole audience just cheered and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I must be at the wrong panel. Sorry, I made a mistake." So Ryan Reynolds supporting the Snyder Cut. So like ever since then, there have been rumblings that, hey, maybe Zach may have a role for Ryan Reynolds, and people saying, hey, there could be a slight possibility that they could bring him into the DCU, maybe as Hal Jordan, but Blake Lively, his wife, is no longer because like in the old movie, Blake Lively, his Ryan Reynolds' wife, plays Carol Ferris. Right. But obviously nowadays, Christina Wren, like that girl, like in the lady in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, she's Carol Ferris, and she thinks Superman's kind of hot. So if you So like, and it's funny because like people were wondering, hey, is this this guy who said that he has a 30-minute arc in the Snyder Cut but just wasn't in the theatrical cut? Like this guy is Sam Benjamin, he's in the military. Could he be Hal Jordan? And I was telling everyone, guys, I really doubt he's Hal Jordan. Because if he were Hal Jordan, and if he were on Earth during Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, then why is Carol Ferris gushing over Superman being kind of hot? So it's like, yeah, he's probably not Hal Jordan. But they're saying, hey, maybe they'll bring back Ryan Reynolds as him. And I said, well, yeah, but if he's going to do that, if they're going to do that, he had better make a quasi Deadpool comment when he meets Carol again about, hey, new look? Yeah, I guess so. Looks nice. Thank you. Something like that to a quick little nod to the fact that she's not being played by the same actress.
Right. Well, honestly, I don't like that's an idea I don't like very much, because I think Ryan Reynolds was horribly miscast as Hal Jordan.
And I mean, if you're going to have him as Hal Jordan, make him Kyle Renner. Like, make him the artist Hal Jordan, like the nicer guy Hal Jordan.
Well, he would have been a good Kyle Rayner. He actually would have been.
Yeah,
I could have seen that. Exactly. I could also see him. I can also see him have Guy Gardner.
Yes. Oh, that would be great, especially because Guy Gardner is a bit of a snarky kind of like.
He's snarky. Talker. He's crass. He's rude. Basically would. Ryan Reynolds would have to just tweak his Deadpool performance to just be more of a dude.
Give himself a bowl cut. And give himself a bowl cut, and boom, there's Kyle Renner. There's Guy Gardner.
Yeah, exactly. So him coming back as Hal Jordan, nah, I don't want to see that. I do kind of like the idea of Tom Cruise as an older Hal. I think that.
Yes.
I can see.
Tom Cruise is Hal. Tom Cruise is Hal. And as for Jon Stewart, I would say if you're going to do an established actor, maybe what's his name, who was Creed, Apollo Creed's daughter. Apollo Creed's
Michael
son.
B. Jordan.
What's his name?
Yeah, Michael B. Jordan.
Could be Michael B. Jordan. You could do a Chadwick Boseman, like Black Panther, maybe make him, but I would say it would be cool if that big YouTube personality, Tyrone Magnus is a big fan of Zack Snyder, and he's been big on the Snyder Cut movement too. And he said, hey, Zack, if you're watching this, I would love to be in one of your movies, man. So it would be cool to have him as Jon Stewart just for the heck of it. And he's pretty cool. Like he's a master of performance in his videos. So make him Jon Stewart. That would be cool. But Tom Cruise as Hal Jordan, whoever you would like as Jon Stewart, and if you're going to have Ryan Reynolds, make him Guy Gardner, give him a bowl cut, and if you're going to have Sam Benjamin, like that guy who's in the Snyder Cut as a Green Lantern, make him Kyle Renner. Then we got all four. And as for Jessica Cruz. Well, you need a great like Hispanic actress that's young looking and pretty cool. Who knows? Ana de Armas. Although Ana de Armas is now Ben Affleck's girlfriend, and they're pretty passionate right now, and they're hanging out with Ben's kids. So I mean, so you could make her the DCU Selena Kyle. You could make her You could make her Talia al Ghul. Who knows? That would be interesting.
I'd rather see that than Jessica Cruz because I don't care about Jessica Cruz at
Certainly. Yeah. Well, I mainly do because she was created by Ethan Van Sciver, who's like big conservative guy who was kicked out of comics because he's a conservative Trump supporter, and like Dan Didiot like kicked him out of DC because of that.
Yeah.
But he was the one who created Jessica Cruz. So just for that, it would be nice to have her there to like as a nod to Ethan Van Sciver, as a bleep you to Didiot, and like for kicking him out. So I don't know. But yeah, I would love to have Anna de Armas as like a love interest. But
back to the Snyder cut though. So what format do you think we're going to see this thing in? Well, obviously it's going to be HBO Max, but do you think we're going to see a straight like 2.5, 3 hour movie? Or are we going to see something more episodic where we get it in like hour and a half installments? What do you think we're looking at here?
Well, from what the news reports from Hollywood Reporter and Variety, and like from all the reports were saying that right now Warner Media and HBO Max, what they're looking at two options. Not a 3 hour. Remember that Zach like said that his cut is supposed to be 3.5 hours long, 214 minutes, 3.5 hours long.
Okay.
They're looking at giving him the opportunity to use a lot of the stuff that he was using in his full 5 hour long assembly cut. He said, hey, you can use this stuff that you were going to cut out for the sake of it having it flow as a movie, so people could be content to sit down as a movie. You could make it as long as you want if we make it into a miniseries. And Zach says, I do have an idea how to give it a miniseries format. You give a cliffhanger, right? There's a good cliffhanger point right here, good cliffhanger point right here. So he's certainly open to a miniseries if it's like make it a super long, like 4 hour total or 5 hour total miniseries. Or now if it's going to be a movie length, well, what is the length? What was the length of the Lord of the Rings extended cuts? Because the funny thing is, the Lord of the Rings theatrical cuts were 3 hours each, which kind of gives a lot more shame to Kevin Tsujihara and Toby Everett telling Zach to cut down Batman Superman. You cut down Batman Superman from 3 hours to 2.5 hours. Seriously, dude? Or like cutting down. They wanted to cut Justice League down to 2 hours even, and told Joss Whedon to reshoot it to heck to make it flow as a simple 2 hour movie or whatever. But like the Lord of the Rings theatrical cuts were 3 hours each, and their extended cuts were apparently 4 hours each. So you could do a 4 hour length movie or an even longer miniseries. We'll just see how it flows. So we'll just see which one it is, whichever one it is. Like, it's going to be awesome. I mean,
either way, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I genuinely hope it's very, very successful, so that we can get more of the Snyderverse. Whether it just goes to HBO Max, or whether it just goes to, or whether it actually finds its way to theaters, which I think, if it's successful, I think is more possible than not. Because I mean, we still got the Snyderverse Wonder Woman showing up on screen here eventually, whenever the COVID lets that happen, and we've got also, as far as I know, the Snyderverse Aquaman 2 is still. It's still in the works.
Yeah,
and we've got still in the Snyderverse Suicide Squad 2, well in the works with James Gunn directing. So there's lots of Snyderverse projects still going on, and I think it would be, of course, to just pretend that the Snyderverse doesn't exist.
Exactly. And of course, we're getting Black Adam. And as I discussed last couple of times I was on, The Rock and Henry Cavill have the same agent.
Right.
And The Rock in particular. Yeah. And The Rock and Brock and Henry Cavill were talking about a lot. Hey, let's do some kind of interaction. Like, hey, it would be an epic fight of the century to have Black Adam fighting Superman, maybe with Shazam, and that would lead to Shazam, Superman: The Return of Black Adam being Shazam 3 after the Black Adam movie comes out. Who knows? And Patty Jenkins herself said that okay. We have Wonder Woman, which is World War I. We have Wonder Woman 1984, which of course is in the 80s. And I think she's really given hints at the fact that yes, Wonder Woman 3 is going to take place present day. And I've long said, look, from ever since Gal Gadot walked onto the set of Batman v Superman, she and Amy Adams hit it off beautifully as like they became like great friends. And they had both said they would love to do a Wonder Woman Lois Lane adventure story. So that would be like the perfect Wonder Woman. Yeah, it would be like a perfect Wonder Woman 3 as sort of a parallel to like how in Captain America Winter Soldier there was Black Widow helping him out. So you have Wonder Woman 3 present day, and here's Lois helping her out. So that would be ideal. I mean, I've been conceited enough to be writing a screenplay for a spec script for what I would do with Wonder Woman and Lois Lane. But there's that, and Shazam, Superman, The Return of Black Adam. Like ideally, I would want to have like at the opening fight between the Shazam kids and Black Adam, but Black Adam beats the heck out of them, and their foster parents are tragically caught in the crossfire. They're dead, and Clark and Lois take them in and watch over them and all that while they're like discussing, okay, like is it worth it to help them get into shape so that they can like have the courage to be heroes again, or because they're kids, is it best to hold them back and say it's settle down for now because we care about you as kids. Well, we'll see. And then of course the final battle of course is Shazam and Superman together fighting against Black Adam. So there you go. But I would also like, while we're on the subject of director's cuts, okay, you have the Snyder cut coming out. There's a good shot that you're having the air cut coming out. A lot of people are talking about Zack Snyder's intended director's cut of Sucker Punch. Now, we have the extended cut, but his director's cut never came out. And people have been saying, you know, it's about time we get it. It's about time we get it. So there's that. So yeah. So there's that. Yeah. I mean, but right now, the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless. The future is very bright indeed. I'm feeling very happy. Well, by the way, while we're on talking about Shazam, I was going to bring this up. This tie-in book, Freddy's Guide to Superheroing. I highly recommend it. But really, and the idea is that Freddy's writing this little guidebook intro to who Shazam is and all that. But the book is filled with references to the Snyderverse as it's already taken about. He mentions the Justice League as we've seen them, including Cyborg. And there's a great moment in the book where Freddy gushes over Lois Lane, and he has a copy of her article that's her speech at the end of Justice League, her full speech basically. And with that in mind, it's like that is really leading up. That's gotta lead up to Clark and Lois hanging out with the kids at some point, especially because Amy Adams actually is a mom. So having her interact with the kids would be just beautiful.
Yeah, I'd be all for it.
Yeah. So would I. Yeah. And as for the ultimate question is, so beyond Justice League 2 and Justice League 3 and all that,
right?
How and beyond Shazam, Superman, Return to Black Adam, what's going to happen with Henry Cavill's Superman? Well, the very fact that Henry Cavill is now open and up and about and getting really big and excited about this, it's like, could it be that we're going to get an announcement for Man of Steel 2 finally? Well, yeah. And on that note, Zack Snyder himself, Henry Cavill himself had said that the story that he would want most adapted into a Man of Steel movie is For Tomorrow. So for the comic fans, look that up. And it's a powerful story. Very serious, very dramatic, very good.
Well, and you know, on that note too, and that's actually a pretty good that leads to a pretty good note to end on here, Eric, and that's that the DC heroes and also Snyder's strengths as a storyteller lead to the darker, lead to the more dramatic, lean to the more serious. And again, DC needs to stop trying to knock off Marvel. Don't be a second tier knockoff of Marvel. It hasn't been working for you. It's not going to work for you. Let Marvel be Marvel. I'm fine with Marvel being Marvel. I like Marvel being Marvel. I want DC to be DC. I love DC being DC. I don't much care for DC trying to be Marvel. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
That's not the nature of the heroes that are there. It's the nature of those heroes to represent much bigger things than just what's happening on the page or on the screen. And that is exactly why, that's probably exactly why Christopher Nolan thought Zack Snyder was so good, would be so good to do Superman, because of exactly the sort of symbolism things that you were pointing out. And, you know, some of it was just literally in your face in Man of Steel. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got that whole thing. He's debating whether or not to sacrifice himself to to Zod to save humanity, and he's doing it talking to a priest literally in front of a freaking like stained glass window of Jesus. It's like, are you guys picking up on this, or do I need to literally hit you over the head?
And of all the stained glass windows it could be, it's the Garden of Gethsemane, which is Jesus praying, like unsure of what to do.
Yeah.
Like, how beautiful is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, the ultimate lesson for studios to learn from. And we really got this lesson earlier on with the release of Sonic. And they listened to the fans and gave us the design of Sonic that is true to the source material, as opposed to this weird new thing. And that was a lesson for all of Hollywood. Listen to the fans, studios. There's money to be made when you listen to them.
Amen. Hallelujah. So on that note, Eric, thank you so much for coming on. Dave's Vault. Congratulations on all the hard work, the fact that you guys got it done. And again, congratulations, good work, Skol to all of you. And I really I cannot wait to see what happens with the Snyder Cut, what happens with the DCEU in the future, and yourself and everyone else who was involved deserve a huge pat on the back for
thank you
for helping to make all of that possible. And I think that's a perfect place to end it. So until
thank you for having me on. Hashtag into the Snyderverse.
Amen. So on that note, everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. And I hope you all keep fighting the good fight.